What's up, everybody? Welcome to Philly with John Marks, as always presented by Bet Parks and Central City Toyota on a Friday morning. Philly with John Marks, and it was not by design that I have this hat on, but I am so damn cold in our studio this morning that I had put this on when I left the house because it was very cold when I left the house, and I said, you know what? I'm leaving it on today, as it's a football Friday. Eagles and Packers on Sunday. Glenn Foley, who is the pride of Cherry Hill East, Boston College, the Jets and the Seahawks, and my buddy, I used to work in radio with him. He's going to join us at 8:25 if you're watching live, 25 minutes from now, to discuss Eagles-Packers, and we'll go over some of his resume as a football guy because it's pretty impressive. That's coming up here in about 20 minutes or so. But last night's game, let me tell you, and if my eyes don't look open this morning, I mean, I really wasn't that late. I wasn't up until 12 or 1 o'clock, but it is rare when you're a fan of sports and you have a big game that comes up, right? Like the first round of the college football playoffs. Everybody was so excited for the games. This is great. And they expanded the field. And then every game was a blowout, right? It didn't live up to the expectation. Last night's game, Penn State and Notre Dame absolutely did. Wow, what a great game. Not great quarterback play necessarily on either side of the ball, but a great game. And Penn State loses. And if I'm smiling a little bit today because Penn State lost, okay, I am. But, just a great game. Penn State could have very easily won that game. Their quarterback stinks. That's why they lost the game. Their quarterback's not very good. And he threw a terrible interception. Terrible interception. Penn State doesn't have wide receivers. They didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver the entire night. When they said that stat on the broadcast, I was like, how is that even possible? It is. They can run the ball. I think for the most part, you saw two evenly matched teams that are well coached, and Notre Dame just had a little bit more last night. Riley Leonard had the early interceptions. Drew Aller had the late interceptions, one that was negated by a BS pass interference call. But still, that was a down to the wire. It was a great game. It was very, very entertaining game. So Notre Dame in the national championship game. Penn State falls a little bit short. But, Nittany Lions fans that were responding to me on Twitter and threatening me and death threats and things in my DMs. Sorry. I did enjoy. I'm smiling a little bit this morning because Penn State lost, but maybe that's just me. But it was
it's definitely just you.
Well, I know it's not you, Tyler Zulli, because you are a Penn Stater. But it's I saw a lot of this after the game with it's like, oh, James Franklin again. James Franklin lost this one. Yeah, it doesn't make James Franklin's resume look any better against top teams. And obviously it's another big game that he lost. But I mean, I didn't come away from last night's game saying oh man, what a dumbass. James Franklin with another boneheaded decision. No, he could have went for it on fourth down instead of taking a field goal in the first half early.
Yeah, but it was nothing at the time. You know what I mean? And it looked like it was trending in the direction of a game that
come on in, Tyler. Let's see your face this morning. Yeah,
big thumbs down. That's where we're at.
Honestly, I had no problem with him taking the field goal right there. No, I thought Franklin was fine. You didn't even notice him last night.
Yeah, I think that the issues were numerous for this team yesterday. And I jokingly tweeted Abdul Carter, Jalen Carter with the handshake emoji, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And it was getting held consistently without getting the call. And somebody tweeted back at me, was yeah, that's definitely the reason they lost, is because the refs weren't. And I said, it was just a joke. I said, here's the reasons why Penn State lost yesterday. Penn State lost yesterday because Drew Aller was inconsistent and erratic with a lot of his throws, which is not normal for Drew Aller. He's usually very protective of the football. Penn State lost yesterday because they had not a single reception from a wide receiver, as you brought up earlier in the show. That's almost unfathomable in a college football semifinal. They lost yesterday because they were one of the best second-half defenses in college football all year this year. They gave up 24 second-half points. They lost yesterday because Notre Dame was 80th in third down conversions offensively, worse than middle of the pack in college football this season. They were 11 for 16 on third downs that mattered. They were 11 for 17 because basically Riley Leonard fell down at the end to get the hash mark they wanted.
Yeah.
They were 11 for 16 on third downs that mattered. Those are the reasons Penn State lost the game. It really didn't have much to do with James Franklin.
No, it didn't. Aller, I mean, let's be honest. He missed on that field goal, that the opening field goal. Wasn't Singleton wide open and he threw it at his feet through a worm burner?
He was, that ball probably has to get caught, but it was a bad throw off his back hip. Like if he hits him in stride, he walks in.
Yeah. Yep.
And he missed a couple receivers last night. He had Tyler Warren on a wheel route that he missed.
He did.
He had Singleton again on a different
wheel
route that he missed.
Gain.
His touch pass last night was not good.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt on the ball that called back, the interception that got called back on the pass interference.
It was wildly underthrown.
Well, and he threw in a double, almost triple coverage.
Sure.
There was never a chance of that ball being caught. And then he freaked out. I got to look at the play, that ending interception. I got to look at it again. But because if you look at the sequence, so the game's tied, they get the ball back. They have plenty of time. All right, 1st and 10 at the Penn State 28, 33 seconds. Or no, 1st and 10 at the Penn State 15, 38 seconds. What I thought was a great play call, which was a little draw. Singleton gets 13 yards. It gets him up to the 28 and a first down. 33 seconds left. So from there, you're at the 30-yard line. 22 yards gets you to midfield. Another 20 yards gets you to the 30-yard line. I think the 30-yard line is exactly where you want to be to try to kick a field goal.
Yeah, I would have liked it if they were going to attempt a game-winning field goal for Ryan Barker to have been inside the 50. I feel good with him about 50, but 46, 47 would have been kind of the range I would have hoped for.
So you need 42 yards from there. There's 33 seconds. You have a first down. From that point, if I'm calling plays, I'm calling short passes. The last thing I want is him back there. There's a chance of a sack. There's a chance of a strip sack. I'm doing short passes. And I got to look at the play again. I'm wondering if his first option wasn't there.
It wasn't. It was Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren got knocked off his route, and I think that he got flustered.
So that wasn't there because if you see it, he immediately freaks out and then looks to his right and then just heaves it. And I know he said after the game that he was trying to throw it in the dirt. Well, that's not how you throw it in the dirt, bro. I feel bad for him, too. It looked like he was going to cry on the sideline. I mean, geez, he's only 20 years old. I mean, he's a junior this year. So, at some point, you just got to – and I saw – I don't know if it was before the game or during the game. There's scouts think that he's a better prospect than Shedeur Sanders. Listen, maybe there's a scout out there that like his tools better or whatever. He's a good college quarterback at best. You want to draft him top 5 or top 10 you're doing that straight on his tools, his size, his arm strength, which is great. He's just not a very good quarterback. He's a good college quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he had success this year, but honestly, on that second down, I might have run the ball again
I would have absolutely run knowing you have 2 timeouts and how you've run the ball all game for the most part. With Singleton with the gash plays and Katron with the heavier up the middle type of stuff, I would have 100% run the football again.
You get another first down, clock stops, college. You don't even need timeouts. You can clock it. You can then run your next play. It's a shame because that game should have been an overtime game.
Yeah,
and that's what I was because you're coming out. McElroy's talking and McElroy he jinxed him by saying you more or less you put the ball in Aller's hands. He hasn't made mistakes in his career, and he throws an interception on the second play. But yeah, I was wondering, are they going to come out conservative? What are they going to do? That run was perfect because you get 12 yards. Now you can be a little bit more aggressive. If he gets stuffed, you don't turn the ball over, and you can just kind of let the clock wind. And you can take your time and you go into overtime. That was an overtime game last night.
Well, and I think, too, when you talk about, using the run in that situation, after you're successful on the ground on the first play, that's when defenses go, okay, they pick up the first down. Maybe they will throw the ball. I think a draw would have worked in that scenario. And, again, you're right. If you get stuffed, you probably just clock it at that point. And you say, let's take our chances in overtime. Now, I know the college football overtime, anything can happen, right? It's, you're trying to go 25 yards on 2 drives. And then you've got the could you imagine deciding who's going to the national championship on the alternating 2-yard plays.
Yes, that's what I wanted.
That would have been, oh my gosh, that would have been brutal. But yeah, I think at that point you run the football again, or you take a high percentage pass. You don't get it,
which I think they tried, and then Warren wasn't there for it, and dude freaked out. Yeah, it's a shame. I would have liked to see an overtime. And honestly, like, it didn't feel like Notre Dame necessarily was riding this big wave of momentum into overtime. To me, it's still a toss-up right there. So, sorry, Penn Staters.
I think where the momentum was, the biggest momentum, in my opinion, in that game was Penn State was the better team, I think, by a pretty sizable margin in the first half.
They didn't take advantage of it enough.
And they went into halftime up 7, and knowing Notre Dame was getting the football to start the second half. That, to me, right there was kind of telling how that game was going to transpire.
Yeah, agreed. Yep. Yeah, and it felt like it, too. The field goal gets them on the board, and then they scored the quick touchdown. But listen, Penn State came back. I mean, that was a great game last night. It really was. We talked about it. We talked about it yesterday. It's like, two evenly matched teams. It really was. It really almost mirror image of themselves. Not great quarterbacks. I wouldn't expect these guys to be good pros or anything like that, but like two good teams.
Well, I think if you were looking at that as a fan of any other team in college football other than Notre Dame and Penn State, you're probably looking at that, man, what a football game. Back and forth, good defense, and then offense in the second half. Like, if you're not a fan of either of those two teams, and sweating this thing out at 11 o'clock at night on a Thursday, you're probably thinking this is a heck of a football game.
Right. It was. All right, well, Glenn Foley coming up about 13 minutes from now to preview. And honestly, Glenn Foley knows a little something about beating Notre Dame. When he was with the Boston College Eagles in 1993, they beat Notre Dame. They were ranked number 1 at the time. So I know G. Foles was watching that last night. We'll talk to everything with him coming up here in a little bit. But a lot of stuff went on last night. We have headlines with Tyler Zulli. Tyler, what do we got today?
Yeah, what's going on? Obviously, the big headline yesterday was the Penn State game. We talked at length about that, so we'll kind of glance over that. But I do have to tell you, our headlines are brought to us by our friends at Glad Hair Restoration, because they're not just about restoration. They're also about innovation. And if you want to improve how you look and how you feel, head on over to gladhairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started. So we'll talk about the other game that's upcoming tonight. It's Ohio State and Texas in the Cotton Bowl. Winner, of course, will play Notre Dame in the national championship in 11 days, or 10 days now, for that matter. John, I think that you and I talked about it. You talked about it with Uncle Jamie yesterday. This one feels like the world is betting Ohio State, so we'll see how that transpires. But this one feels like more of the lopsided game than last night's did.
I agree, which makes me think it's not going to happen. Who the hell's picking Texas to beat Ohio State? No, I haven't heard anybody say it. It just seems, it seems too easy. I'm interested to see what happens tonight. If it's a blowout, I won't be surprised. And I have no reason to believe Texas wins this game tonight at all. They've given me no reason. I've watched pretty much every game this year. So
the only thing that would give me pause would be if Ohio State decides they're going to have the formula that they used against Michigan, which was, we want to try to outmuscle you. Because that's a bad strategy. Yeah. Because Texas interior defensive line and their run defense is very good. Yeah. If you spread the field like you did against Oregon, you get Jeremiah Smith out in space, you get Emeka Egbuka one-on-one, you have your running backs out in the flat. Like, to me, this feels like Ohio State should win this game. Yeah, I think candidly,
it's a good comp with Michigan. Like, if Ryan Day comes out and he's outcoached because they come out and they think that, this is how we're going to win, and Texas has something else for him. This could be a big Ryan Day game, but I'm looking forward to another 7:30 game tonight.
Yeah, at least this one's on a Friday. We don't have to worry about getting up for work tomorrow. Last night, Flyers drop a 4th consecutive game. They lose to the Dallas Stars 4-1. Dallas scores 2 in the first. The Flyers get 1 back in the 4th late. But it was pretty much all Dallas in this one. Casey DeSmith makes 27 of 28 saves for the Stars. Sam Emerson, 19 of 22. And, I think you look at that number and you go 19 of 22 is not great. But if you watched any of the game or you heard any of JJ's call, at one point he goes, Sam Emerson basically by himself. And that's kind of been a tell over the last 3 or 4 weeks or so. is bad neutral zone play, bad defensive zone clearances that have led to breakaways. Like I go back to the Detroit game before Christmas, and I think since that game, the defensive exits and the neutral zone puck possession has been significantly worse than it was in the first, month and a half of the season.
Are the wheels falling off here?
Yeah, I think so a little bit. I mean, they've also had a stretch of playing some really good teams in a row. Like they played Vegas, Toronto twice, and Dallas. All three of those teams are substantially better than them. Their only win in their last 6 came against the Sharks, who are equally in rebuild mode. But if you go back to the game prior, they lost to the Kings, who are a good team, right? They lose 5-4 in that one. They've lost to the Kings twice in the last month. So they've played some good teams. But I think that the talent disparity is starting to catch up to them just a little bit.
Yeah, they have the tie for the second least amount of points in the conference.
Well, I will say this. If you're looking forward to a game, John, if there's ever intrigue for a casual Flyers fan, it's this Saturday. It's tomorrow. They play the Ducks. Cutter Gautier's first game at the Wells Fargo Center.
I heard my buddy Delco Steve is he has tickets. He's going down.
It's going to be the kid's in for a rough night.
Well, he was talking smack last week or the week before about how the game is personal for him or whatever. So yeah, it should be interesting.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the NFL games, because one game in particular, you and I talked about the possibility of this happening. Well, it's official now. The Vikings and the Rams have been moved out of SoFi Stadium in LA due to the wildfires that are happening in California. That game is now being played in Arizona at State Farm Stadium, home of the Cardinals, of course. So the Vikings and Rams will play what is effectively a neutral site wild card round game.
Yep. Yeah. They don't have a great home field as it is, but still, it's getting worse in California. It's getting worse in LA too. It is
really, really getting kind of scary.
I mean, you wonder where it stops, if it stops. I mean, there's entire towns are being totally wiped out. It's scary. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what that crowd looks like. It'll be like, normally you think of a playoff game and like people going crazy, yelling and screaming. I don't know how many people are going to be in Arizona at that game. So will be interesting. What else you got?
Yeah, a couple more stories around the NFL. Lamar Jackson's going to be without his top receiver this weekend. Zay Flowers has been ruled out for the Baltimore Ravens against the Pittsburgh Steelers because of that right knee injury that he suffered in last week's season finale. He didn't practice all week. He's officially been ruled out. John Harbaugh, talked about next man up. He said, we'll move forward with the guys that we've got. But Zay Flowers is a significant loss. He's got 74 catches and 1,059 yards this season. And it marks only the second game that he's missed in his career since coming out of, hey, you talk about our next guest coming up, talk about a guy coming out of Boston College in Zay Flowers. He's been excellent for them.
Yes. Pro Bowler. That's a big loss. We'll see. We'll give our picks later on in the show. I don't know, man. Like, Lamar hasn't been great against the Steelers in his career, so that's a big number. It's a Raven number. I have to look to see if it's changed this morning, but looking last night, it's 9.5. But
yeah, one final story here. We were talking a little bit about college football earlier. One more college football story. I guess that does translate to the NFL. Carson Beck will enter the transfer portal at Georgia, so it looks like it's going to be Gunnar Stockton's team heading forward for the Georgia Bulldogs. Beck was thinking about did declare for the NFL draft just about 2 weeks ago. And I made the joke, and maybe it's a little unfair to him. He declared for the draft, and the NFL declared they didn't want him. So he's going to come back to college in some capacity. I'm not sure exactly where it'll be. We'll keep you updated on what his
Miami is the early favorite.
Yeah, with losing Cam Ward this offseason, it makes sense. They're going to need a quarterback. It's a guy who's had a lot of playing experience, right? So it's not like he's inexperienced. It's a matter of how good is he actually, but Miami would make sense.
Some of these teams are going to live in the transfer portal with certain positions, which it's going to work. Look what it's done so far. So,
well, I mean, I think the quarterback position is one that could be extremely valuable to you. It turns your franchise on its head, kind of immediately. Notre Dame, Riley Leonard was at Duke last year. They're in the national championship. Will Howard was at Kansas State to begin his career. Quinn Ewers, the starting quarterback for Texas, was at Ohio State. Drew Aller was the only non-transfer portal quarterback left in the 4 teams. And then you talk about Cam Ward, how good he was at Miami. You're going to talk about Caden Slater who's leaving Liberty to go play at Colorado, and he may not even start because they've got Jordan Lewis coming in as a true freshman. So I think that the transfer portal is moving in a direction where quarterback is like, you get one guy, you could turn your entire program around.
No doubt. No doubt. All right, Glenn Foley, G. Foles, coming up right after this. We'll preview everything. We'll talk to him. I haven't talked to him in a while. G. Foles next. Philly with John Marks. Don't go nowhere. All right, Bet Parks. Oh, I should have had my. Well, we'll just do this because I have it by muscle memory right here. So Bet Parks app right now. All right, if you're doing anything, you're gonna make some wagers. The only online sports book that I would ever use, Bet Parks, official sports book of Philly with John Marks. All right. Eagles will give our official picks. Eagles continue to be 4.5-point favorites. Chargers -3 over the Texans on the road. Steelers, big-time underdogs against the Ravens, 9.5 points. Bills are 9-point favorites at home over the Broncos. The Commanders, +3. Buccaneers, and then the Vikings are 2-point road favorites as well. 76ers play tonight. Joel Embiid missing his third game this week. I'll have to check the line on that one. But plenty to do on the Bet Parks app and plenty to do at Parks Casino. We've talked about the headliners, and man, there's headliners that are there like pretty much every week. ParksCasino.com for everything, but country star Lee Brice, the reggae sounds of Shaggy, that's coming up in 8 days. Next Saturday night, Ron White, 2 shows in March. Cole Swindell, February 7th. Get your Parks Casino tickets. This is the Excite Center. All the tickets, everything that they have. Parks Casino is close to everybody, right off the 95, right off the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Tickets for everything. Great eats. Liberty Bell Gastropub, Parks Grill Steakhouse, Bamboo Noodle House. ParksCasino.com to buy tickets. Parks Casino, this is how you win. You must be 21. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, so you can't see my lettuce today, my beautiful lettuce on my head because I'm wearing the hat. But I can assure you, kind of need a freshie. Need to get the razor bar to get a fresh haircut. But I can assure you the hair is looking good. And that is not natural, gentlemen. It's not. It's Glad Hair Restoration, now part of Morgenstern Medical. Dr. Ken Morgenstern. Under the direction of him. Just the best hair business in the country. It just is. Most experience, over 30 years of industry experience. Hair restoration is all they do. You're not walking in the office. No, hair restoration is all they do. So if you're ready for hair restoration, maybe like you're really going bald. You're like, I think you'd be a good candidate for hair restoration. Maybe. But maybe you don't have to go there yet. Vitamin supplementation for women and men right now is kind of the craze, and I'll tell you, it works. The stuff you see online, the sprays that like you get in the algorithm on Instagram, and like you see a guy that has this big, great head of hair. He's like, oh, it's from spraying this. No, it's not. That's bogus. Glad Hair can help you during all stages of the hair loss. The vitamin supplementation is great. Laser light therapy, PRP stem cell restoration, and then the hair restoration surgery. And you're getting a complimentary one-on-one consultation. It's free, and they're an advocate for you. So they're not just going to bring you in and try to upsell you. They're going to look and say, here's what we think we should do. Literally from the first phone call you make to 610-980-4000, they're there for you to the last follow-up visit. So you can trust them. They're professionals. I've been right there with Glad Hair Restoration for over 10 years, 12 years now. Glad Hair is not just about restoration, it's about innovation. Bald's optional. Their website's gladhairmctr.com. G-L-A-T hairmctr.com. 610-980-4000. Reach out to me on my DMs. Slide in my DMs. I'll answer any questions. I can even introduce you and hand you off to Cheryl and Lisa over at Glad Hair Restoration. 610-980-4000 or gladhairmctr.com. As we await. Now, Glenn Foley's there, so he's figured out the technology. Can we hear him? Because I figured he'd be able to connect to his iPad. I'm hoping we can hear him and it's clear. The pride of Cherry Hill East and Boston College.
This is actually working.
You look good, G Foles. G Foles in your pee holes.
Yo, oh, yeah. Are we PG-13? Are we R? What are we doing here?
You can't really use profanity because we're on Xfinity and Roku and Samsung Plus. So, like,
Yeah,
if it slips, it's on FCC. But
I saw the sponsorship, so I just needed to figure that one out. But yeah, it's been a while since we've been able to talk about Spider Rico and things like that. I'm
you
just
look
sitting here
good, bro. The beard looks good.
It's coming off soon, but it's winter, bro. I'm Mr. Mom. I'm the guy that's going in the wrong way, coming out the wrong way. But everything's great, brother. I'm doing great. You look great. Congrats on this new stuff. I thought that was Don Tollefson too, just talking. That dude was talking with his damn eyes closed. Your host there, bro.
Tyler Zuli.
Zuli,
Right,
Zuli. Does he talk in his sleep?
He does. That's what I heard. That's what his wife told me. He's got like a 1 month old G Foles. So he's blacked out right now. He'll remember none of this.
Oh, we're all worn out right now here.
Well,
Wow.
Glenn has 11 children, right? How many kids do you have now, Glenn?
Well, 3 named after me, 12 now. Yeah. But when I did the football camps back in the day, I would go from town to town. I swear to you, I ran into 12 Ray Lewises. It's unbelievable. It really is. But Marcy, I'll tell you what a week. Now you wasted my time talking about the Flyers, by the way. I need that couple minutes back. Gauthier is a BC guy also. With Zay Flowers, 2 BC guys came up in my time.
All right, so hold on. So G Foles, just because we're like older guys now, so maybe not some of our younger audience isn't familiar with all right, I've heard the name Glenn Foley. Like, you won't believe this guy's friggin' resume. All right, first of all, the pride of Cherry Hill East. He goes to Boston College. See, Penn State doesn't know anything about beating Notre Dame. Guess who does? G Foles. 1993, the Holy War. Boston College beats top-ranked Notre Dame. Glenn Foley, how about 315 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game? How about that?
Yeah, in their eyepiece. And I type in caps right back at them. I find out exactly where all the alumni are, and I'm hitting them. F you stink. The ghost of Glenn Foley. They haven't won anything since '86. Their best chance was in '93. And I went in there and stomped all over them. And it was, I'll tell you what, I didn't even play that good that game. Our team was unbelievable. Mamula, Eagles' own Mike Mamula, he was unbelievable in that game.
Pete Mitchell, who was it? Pete Mitchell was he a first-round draft pick?
No, he didn't go in the first round. I'll tell you what, though. People looking back, that was great. Great college player. Looking back, though, people that was a huge upset. We had way more pros than they did. If you go back, me and Tommy Nillen, my center was John Elway's center for his 2 Super Bowls. We had Mamula. We had my left guard went. My left tackle, Pete Kendall, he played 15 years. So our team was loaded with NFL players, and Tom Coughlin was the coach. So in our mind, it wasn't really an upset.
Right. So you played Tom Coughlin, and you were 5th in the Heisman that year. So you played for Tom Coughlin at BC. You get drafted by the Jets. So when you were a rookie, Pete Carroll was the coach?
Oh, yeah. Get a load of this list. Yeah, go ahead.
So Tom Coughlin, Super Bowls. Yep. Pete Carroll, Super Bowl. Now, Rich Kotite for 2 years was 4-20.
That was my vacation in the league. During my career, I had a 2-year vacation. It was great. I had 2 years off playing for Rich Kotite.
But then you become a Parcells guy. Parcells comes in. What's the secret in the sauce to Bill Parcells? What makes him as special as he is?
He works your mind. He's a people guy. He knows how to manage people. He didn't know how to call offense. He didn't know the ins and outs of offensive play calling or offensive football. He was a defensive guy. But when I came right home from a vacation, I was in California, and it wasn't burning. I was in California, and I had to fly back. The minute he signed, I was like, "Oh man, I got to get out of here." I flew right into New York and got into his office and tried to be the first guy in because I knew I played for Tom Coughlin. You had to be the first guy there, and if you weren't 15 minutes early, you were late. So I was in his office, but he doesn't care who you are. You have to prove yourself to Parcells. And on Parcells' staff, remember, Belichick was a defensive coordinator. Romeo Crennel was on that staff. Mangenius was on that staff. Who else was on that? Charlie Weiss. Oh, I torture Mangenius. Charlie Weiss was on that staff.
Wow.
So when you go through, and after that, I played for Mike Holmgren in Seattle. So there's 2 more rings. So you go back to Tom Cobb. I think I had 11 or 12 rings in terms of that. And people are like, "Who are you?" I go, "I know football." I go, "I'm really an idiot, but I can tell you what's going on every single second on a football field." Woo-wee! Where does that get you in life? Talking with Marksy. Let's go, baby.
All right. So you grew up an Eagles fan. You're a big Eagles fan. Jalen Hurts he hasn't played in a couple weeks with the concussion. Saquon Barkley, like, what an unbelievable first year. But as they head into the wild card round against the Packers, when you look at this team and where they are right now, how do you feel about the Eagles? How much confidence do you have that this team's making a run to the Super Bowl?
I hate to even say it. This will sound crazy, but Sirianni's on the hot seat. I mean, you got to win this thing now. You have to win it. The last 2 years with this offensive line, they talk about a copycat league. I'm down here in the Baltimore area. The Ravens and the Eagles are the 2 best teams in the league, with the exceptions, obviously, of Kansas City and Detroit. So those are your 4 best teams. And why? Because their interior lines are unbelievable. You look at the Eagles and the size of the Eagles. I could have ran for 2,000 yards with that Eagles offensive line. I think I quoted earlier, Michael Bradley could have done it also. But that line is unbelievable. Now, if anyone from the Eagles organization is listening, I can fix Jalen Hurts. He has a horrible mechanical issue that nobody's talking about. A bunch of quarterbacks have gone down the path of a different kind of release. When the ball turns away from the target, it's a problem, and a lot of quarterbacks are doing that now. I can fix Hurts, and give me 7 to 10 days. I can fix his motion, but his value is now on the ground. When they can when the quarterback now can run the football, that's more important than being a pocket passer. And you're seeing that now. You look down at my MVP every year is Lamar Jackson. He's the MVP again. Now you can argue that the guy in Buffalo, Allen, had a better year, but because he carried the team on his backdoor. But Lamar Jackson's the best player on the planet. And
so it's something I was going to ask you, because that hasn't worked in the playoffs. I know they were in the AFC Championship game last year, but for the most part, regular season Lamar is dynamic and carries the team. But then you get to the playoffs, you know this, it's a totally different story in the playoffs. Are you concerned with the Eagles that because their offense was run through Saquon Barkley, and like you had said with Jalen, he's doing a lot of damage with his legs, not just his arm. Are you worried that things change in the playoffs and now they're not going to be able to run with Saquon like they were, and it's going to be more difficult to run the same kind of offense they were running during the regular season?
Yeah, but this is where Howie and his boys have done a great job. Now you go to the passing game, and you're sitting there, and I killed A.J. Brown for opening his mouth during that winning streak. Just shut up. You don't have to say anything. You can just look weird, and people will know. But the Eagles they're going to absolutely force Jalen Hurts to throw the football. They're going to stack the box and say, "Go ahead, hit him." But you have to be able to do it, and they're going to put heat on him, and they're going to absolutely make Jalen Hurts throw the football in the playoffs. The reason that Patrick Mahomes is so good is because he'll take off at the most critical times and run the ball for 15 or 20 yards. He doesn't have to run for 100, but he'll run for 40 or 50 in the most critical time. Lamar Jackson, on the other hand, was a runner and developed himself into a pocket passer. I watch him. He stays in there, and he is really concentrated on throwing from the pocket. Now, if Jalen can do that, Jalen doesn't throw the ball as well as Lamar, but Jalen, it's not like he can't throw. I'm not saying he can't throw. He can throw, but he has a mechanical issue that needs to be fixed. But he's such a great athlete, and he has all the intangibles, and you can't measure the intangibles. That's why I can't get a handle on Hurts, really, because he has intangibles with a mechanical problem. So he can't throw because of something physical, not something mental.
Yeah, I think I've said before he's probably a better football player than he is a throwing quarterback, right? Because I mean the intangibles are off the chart. Glenn, if they need a drive in the fourth quarter, I have a lot of confidence Jalen Hurts, because he'll take off, he'll get some running yards, he'll make a throw, he'll buy some time in the pocket, he'll roll out. So the one thing that's different this year than what you saw last year, there's a lot of things that are different, but their defense is much better. Absolutely. So last year, man, their defense was bad at the end of the season. It was old and they were bad. This year, man, best defense in the league.
Corner. They addressed the corner. They addressed the linebacker position, and boom, there's nothing wrong with their interior. It was once you got past their interior, it was like, where's the rest of the team? So they fix that. Just stay healthy, and the Eagles are the best team or one of the best teams in the league. Now you got to go after win it. Detroit is a problem at home. That's why home field advantage becomes an issue. But you're going to have to go to Detroit or Minnesota to win us. I'm not worried at all about Sam Darnold. That dude is a turd. Absolute turd. Oh, man. I swear.
Glenn, all year long I was waiting for him to turn into Sam Darnold. And then I'm like, I guess he's not turning into Sam Darnold. And then against the Lions, he turned back into Sam Darnold finally.
Oh, yeah. I go, who do you think's going to win this game? I go, Sam Darnold hasn't shown up yet this year. He's going to show up in this game. And he did. He was awful. And it's not – he could look great. He could go 20 of 25, and then it's just a matter of time. He throws that awful – it's awful interceptions coming. It's coming. I watched it in New York.
All right. Well, listen, I'd love to have you on Eagles win on Sunday. I'd love to have you on every week here before the game. So do you like the Eagles to win on Sunday? How difficult of a matchup is Green Bay for them? We know that beginning of the season, Eagles got to win in Brazil. It's like a different season by now. You can't even look at that game. But the Packers are a good team. Packers are a well-balanced team. What do you think on Sunday?
I think it's critical for the Eagles to get off to a good start. If they get off to a good start, the Eagles win the game 34-10, 34-17, something like that. It's a smash down. The fans are critical. It's tough to play at the Link. It's so tough. And I don't think Love knows what he's coming into. This is a jungle, man. And if you're not ready and you're not on your game early in this game, the Eagles will absolutely snuff them out. I don't think the Packers have a chance. I'm one of those guys where this is blowout city. But if you turn the ball over in the beginning of the game or you do something stupid, now you keep a minute. Now all of a sudden we got a game. That's a problem. You got to smash them early. Don't turn the ball over and run the football. The fans are critical. Get in the stadium, really go freaking berserk. I'm doing live at Larry's. Who's Larry? Larry is one of the most infamous tailgaters in Philadelphia sports history. I want to be in that parking lot. We're doing a podcast, me and the Weasel. We're doing a podcast. Don't ask me. It's going to go off the rails. It's going to be nuts. I have no idea where it is. It's good promotion here because I have no idea where it is or where we're going to be, but I'm going to be in the mix, Marksy. I'm going to be down. I haven't been to Broad in a while. I took my kid to one of the Phillies games. Our boy Brazier, going to hook my kid up with the Fanatic this year coming up. I didn't want to spook him, but I'm going to go back up. I haven't been there, and I'm psyched to be in Philly. We're going to be back there. I don't know where, but look for the smoke and look for the party. It's going to be happening.
Great promotion, Glenn. You don't know where you're going to be.
No,
but you're doing a podcast with our buddy the Weasel, Mark Abrams. That's right. And you'll be somewhere in the parking lot. It'll be easy to find you. Yeah, just look for Glenn. You'll be able to find
no doubt. I'll be somewhere near the Turf Club. I think I got to get my
by the Turf Club.
I'll probably park in the Turf Club. It's free.
All right, very good. Glenn and I worked in radio together from 2006 to 2008, and as Glenn told me, D's nuts will only get you so far.
These kids today think D's nuts is something new. I have a hat. I was going to wear it. It just says D''S, and on the back there's a set of nuts. People have no clue. I invented D's nuts way back when. D's on your mama's face.
Yeah, you sure did. And Glenn, I'm positive of this. If we would have worked together like 3 years later, because you worked with Greg Henson for a couple of months, then you were with the great Michael Bradley, and Michael was great, and Meredith Marakovitz.
Mary's still doing it up in New York, right?
She's in New York. She's a big star. If we would have started the show in like 2010 or like today, it would have been a friggin' huge success because you're nuts.
I still think it was a huge success. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it was just not enough people listened.
I don't care. It doesn't. Ratings have nothing to do with my success. That was
you're right.
Remember, we almost burned the station down with sausage. Come on,
we did.
There was no venting in the studio, and there was like 6 inches of smoke piling up. I'm like, Marcy, we should probably take the 7 pounds of sausage off this cooker.
Oh man! So just
and the guy from the other station, what was it?
John DeBella.
Oh my! I would be spitting dip in the sink, and he would be trying to get his coffee. He'd be like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry, dude." Yeah, we had to. I wasn't too happy. And then we were sharing with the other dudes that were in the station. There was bottles of vodka under my desk. He was doing it late, and I'm like, "Yo, this is nuts. This place is crazy."
Yeah, you're crazy. Are you still golfing? Glenn's one of these guys. He could have probably played Major League Baseball. He's a scratch golf. You still golfing?
Oh, no, I can't do it anymore. I'm all beat up, tore up, shoulders, neck, back,
Yeah.
ankle. Yeah, don't play football. If you're out there and you listen, don't let your children play football. Worst idea.
Your kids, didn't your twins play?
Yeah, they were great too. Now one of
Yeah.
them's they're all jacked up, shoulders, necks, everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not worth it. Don't do the football thing. Do the soccer thing. The lacrosse thing's fine. No football.
Golf.
Watch it. It's fun to watch. Now the game's gotten so fast, Marksy, man. Someone's gonna die. Someone's gonna die. These guys are killing each other out there.
Oh, it's almost happened. So listen, if you're headed down to the game on Sunday, just look for Glenn, and I'm sure you'll see him. All right.
I'll be sending smoke signals from the corners. I don't know where. I really don't know where we're going to be, Mike.
Well, if you tell me I can promote it, I can tweet it out. People can come say hi.
We'll figure. If it doesn't blow up or somebody doesn't get killed, then maybe we'll do another one, and I'll call you back with the details on that. This is an experiment. I have no idea what's going to happen. This is why I think it's a good idea.
It sounds like a great idea. All right, G. Foles, if the Eagles win, you're back next week?
I'm back. Whenever you call me, brother, I'm part of your show.
All right, well, yeah, you're back next week then, regardless.
Yep,
all right.
Absolutely.
All right, G. Foles.
Peace. Love you.
There he is. Glenn Foley. Love you too, buddy. There he is, Glenn Foley. We'll come back. NFL locks. We're going to do all the games, too. Before we pick Eagles in 3 games. We're doing them all. By the way, both Tyler and I had the game last night. Even though he's a Penn State fan, he liked Notre Dame, which was a coin flip, and it was a coin flip. So that should really count towards our record because that was a big win last night. All right, our NFL picks coming up. Intern Daulton has our stat of the week. That's all ahead. Philly with John Marks. Back in 2-2, as Chuck Woolery once said. 2-2. 2-2. All right, listen, Rothman Orthopedics. Glenn Foley right there he's a billboard for Rothman Orthopedics. And so when you're a quarterback, you play all throughout high school and in college and in the pros, and you're undersized and you take the punishment. Like he said, his shoulders are all messed up or whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's it. It really is. If you're having a knee pain, shoulder pain, I had shoulder issues couple years ago, and I spent 2 years just hoping it would get better, and it didn't get better. Rothman Orthopedics, that you just want to get to them. As a New Year's resolution, you don't have to live with pain for the rest of your life. You really, really don't. And Rothman Orthopedics, they make it easy. They really do. They make it easy for you to feel better, right? RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY to learn more and to make an appointment today. So obviously, if you tear your Achilles or you need knee surgery, Rothman Ortho. But what if you're like, man, my knees every time I work out or I run, my knee's bothering me, so I can't do it anymore. You don't have to live like that. They can actually make it better to where you can do what you want to do. Maybe it's just gardening and you come inside and your back hurts or your knee hurts or whatever. Like foot, ankle, elbow, shoulder, spine, knee, hip. They have specific doctors for the area of your body and a multitude of orthopedic services. Again, convenient offices, over 30 in the area, urgent cares, and walk-in centers. RothmanOrtho.com/PHLY to learn more and to make an appointment today. Rothman Ortho.
Yeah, let me tell you about our friends over at Shady Rays. Listen, I've been telling you about Shady Rays for a while because they are a product that I cannot live without because, my eyes are not very good anymore, especially when it comes to driving. That's the wrong graphic. There we go. I'll tell you about our friends at Shady Rays. But I can't recommend Shady Rays enough to you because of the fact that they have crystal clear optics, incredible durable frames, and you can take your Shady Rays just about anywhere because they have every different style and color schematic that you're looking for. So if you want a style look, if you want a more fashionable look, if you want one that's more for the outdoorsy adventure, all of these can be found over at ShadyRays.com. And 300,000 people can't be wrong, right? Because 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars at ShadyRays.com. And Shady Rays continues to offer one of the amazing deals in all of eyewear. It's 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses when you use the promo code PHLY at checkout. And why do I recommend Shady Rays? It's because of the fact that they offer you one of the best protections in all of eyewear. You lose your shades, you break your shades, they will get you a new pair. Don't worry about it. And also, if you don't love the pair that you buy, you can return them or exchange them worry-free for up to 30 days at no cost to you. So again, use the promo code PHLY at checkout, and you can get 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses that 300,000 people have rated 5 stars, including myself.
There you have it. Thank you, Tyler. All right. So, I mean, we've touched on we did with Glenn. We talked about it a lot yesterday, but the Eagles and the Packers, the one thing that I do worry about, and I think it's real. Glenn, I talked about starting fast. Yeah, obviously that'd be great for the Eagles to do. I don't know if that's going to happen. Jalen hadn't played in a couple weeks. Last night, Penn State and Notre Dame, it very rarely happens exactly how you script it and you draw it out. So everybody that's coming out and saying like, oh man, they may start off sluggish or whatever, he may start 13 for 13, 14 for 15, and the Eagles scored 21 points in the first quarter. That'd be great. But I mean, I'm allowing and kind of looking at this as being a second half game for both teams. I think it's a tight first half. And the one thing I do worry about is the Eagles giving up some early points and really struggling on offense early. And then the crowd gets extra restless because it's a playoff game. And the coaching staff gets tight. The play caller gets tight. Some of the guys maybe get tight. So I am worried about that. But this is a good to great team. The talent is there. They're better than the Packers. They have more talent than the Packers. And they're just overall the better team. So I like the Eagles to win the game, and I think they cover 27-17. Tyler and I can kind of go back and forth here with all the games. But I like the Eagles. I think both teams get it going a little bit in the second half, a tight first half. So I take the under in the first half. But ultimately, I think the Eagles kind of get it going and a semi-comfortable 27-17 win over the Packers on Sunday. Tyler, what do you got?
Yeah, so I think 27 was kind of the number I was shooting for, too, for this Eagles team. I think the formula is probably there for how this game operates. I think it is a close game in the first half. You know, again, we've talked about like letting Jalen Hurts get settled a little bit, letting him find a rhythm and find a little bit of a groove after missing a couple of weeks. So I think that this game's formula will be run the ball, play good defense, easy short and intermediate stuff to get going before you can try to take the top off the defense, later in the game and then bust out the big Saquon Barkley run that seems to happen in the second half most of the time. So I think that this game is close at half. I think the Eagles do pull away in the second half. 27 is a really good number to shoot for. I had 27-21 Eagles over the Packers. So, I know you and I were kind of in the same similar vein. I'll change it if it makes you feel better.
No.
But that was where my mind was.
Was cover.
Was 27-21. I think that this game is going to be 10-7 at the end of the first half. Low scoring. Yep. And then I think the Eagles will find a way to put up a couple touchdowns and a field goal in the second half to win this game. What I think will feel more comfortable than the 6-point or 7-point win that they actually come away with.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni's done a really good job, at least looking at it like this. He went on a run there for a while where it was like he was going for it on fourth down, and it was like he shouldn't have went for it on fourth down. He was kicking field goals when he shouldn't have kicked field goals. He was going for it when he should have been kicking field goals. He hasn't had a lot of opportunities to kind of screw that up, or he's been making the right decision because there have been very little complaints on it. So I hope he doesn't try to do too much. And this is what I'm talking about, where if he gets tight in a game where they're not scoring points and he starts getting a little bit desperate and he starts acting differently, right? Like, so I need good Nick Sirianni, not freaking out yelling Nick Sirianni.
Well, I think the counter to that is that the Eagles defense has been so good this year that even if the offense is a little bit sluggish to start the game, I do think that the defense is going to keep you in this game, right? The number one rated defense in the NFL for a reason. And as Glenn brought up, the big reason is because of the assurance of the cornerback position with, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and, allowing guys to play naturally in their spots, and Zach Bond at the linebacker position, and the Kobe Dean playing significantly better this year than he did last year, because the pass rush rate is not like stellar for the Eagles defense. They're like, in terms of success rate versus their sack rate, that's something Jamie and I talked about, last week or earlier in the week a little bit. But this defense is successful at three levels this year.
Yeah,
where in years past it's been successful at 1, maybe 2. We knew the linebacking position was a group of weakness.
The Super Bowl year, they created a lot of quarterback pressure, but they weren't a great defense otherwise.
Yeah, so I think if you protect the football and you play good defense early, you'll be able to survive any kind of slow offensive start. And that's why, to me, like, if you're up 10-7 at half, I'm not going to feel like it's problematic. Like last night with Penn State, it was 10-3, and it felt problematic because they should have been up more. Yep. If the Eagles are up 10-3, 10-7, 13-7, something like that, I still will feel good with how good they've been in the second half for a majority of the season.
Yeah, the Penn State, it definitely felt like they left points on the table. All right, Chargers -3 over the Texans. It's a Charger line. They're on the road. Really, when you look at all the playoff games, they're all good games. A lot of times you'll get the one playoff game that's like, well, I don't even need to worry about that. So at least on paper, Chargers -3 over the Texans. The Steelers, I'll take them +9.5 over the Ravens. Like, I know the Steelers have been on the slide and their offense has been struggling. It was a close game against Cincinnati. And as much crap as Russell Wilson is getting for these losses, he had Freiermuth, which would have been a first down, and he was in stride. They only needed a field goal to win that game. If Freiermuth catches it, it's a sure first down. It might even get him like close to field goal range. And then George Pickens can't catch anything right now. So I just think it's a closer game. It's a divisional game. Steelers still have a good defense. I'll take the Steelers +9.5 over the Ravens. The Bills -9 over the Broncos. I'm going to take the Bills. This is the one game that I'm most unsure about because like the Broncos have taken a lot of teams by surprise. And Bo Nix as a rookie has done everything that Sean Payton has asked him to do and more. He's been efficient. He hasn't turned the ball over. And as the seasons went over, he's been really, really good. I just feel like in Buffalo, home field advantage, place is going to be cold and nuts. I'll take the Bills -9. Commanders and the Bucks. Tampa Bay was not good last week. And Baker Mayfield's been borderline top 5 quarterback this year. That's a little bit of a light line. Tampa Bay, the more veteran team, been in the playoffs. Only 3-point home favorites. That's a little bit of a hedge from Vegas. I'll take the Commanders +3. And then the Vikings and the Rams. Listen, I know Sam Darnold sucked last week against the Lions, and I don't think they're making the NFC Championship game. But I gotta believe the Vikings can beat the Rams in Arizona as 2-point favorites. Their defense is still very, very good. And the Rams have some good players, but ultimately the Vikings have been the better team, and they are the better team. I'll take the Vikings -2 over the Rams. Tyler, what do you got for me?
Let's go back. We'll start with the Chargers and the Texans, the darlings of the 3:30 game on Saturday, the Houston Texans. No one, with the exception, let me rephrase that. A handful of teams get blitzed and hurried more than the Houston Texans did this year. But it was the Carolina Panthers, the Vegas Raiders, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Chicago Bears were the only 4 teams that were blitzed more than C.J. Stroud was this season. With that being said, only the Bears and the Browns have allowed more sacks than the Houston Texans, 54 this season. They're pressured at the highest rate. C.J. Stroud is pressured at the highest rate of all quarterbacks, and the Houston Texans as a whole are pressured at about 27% of the time. I think that Jim Harbaugh's formula for success has been play good defense and run the rock. The Chargers have run the ball the 10th most at about 46%. I think this is going to be a game of few possessions for the Houston Texans. I think the Chargers win this one, and I could foresee a scenario in which the Chargers win this game, by 10, 13, 14 points, and neither team scores a lot. Like, you could see this be, 24-14, and it feels like the Chargers win this game by a lot. I'm going to take the Chargers on the road, -3. I know no Zay Flowers for the Baltimore Ravens, but Pittsburgh has been reeling, and I know you brought up the Freiermuth pass that could have changed maybe the complexity of that game a little bit. I just think the Steelers are heading in the wrong direction. I think that Baltimore is just, and I know Lamar has had issues with Pittsburgh in the past. I just think even without Zay Flowers, Baltimore with Lamar Jackson is the substantially better team. I know it's a lot of points. I think Baltimore might win this game going away. Yeah. I'm going to take the Ravens in this one, minus 9.5. This one, as you brought up, the Bills and the Broncos, is a super interesting one because the records are not kind to rookie quarterbacks making their first start in the postseason. Bo Nix has been much better than most have expected, much better than I've expected. This Buffalo team is really, really, really good. Now, is this going to be one of those games where Buffalo needs to, kind of slug it out, if you will, and then in the next round they blow out a team on their way to an AFC Championship game appearance? I feel like maybe it could be. This Denver defense is excellent, and it travels well. They've played well at both home and on the road. They're playing some good football right now. I'm taking the Bills to win this game. I think I'm going to take the Denver Broncos to cover the 9. I think this is going to be a closer game than Vegas predicts. One of two things happens. This is either a 3-point game or it's a 17-point game. And Bo Nix just is not ready for the postseason just yet. I'm going to lean on Denver's defense. I'm going to take Denver plus 9 in this one with the Bills to win the game. This game, we already talked about the Eagles minus 5. I have them winning by 6, so I'll take this. Take the points and run. This one is the biggest question mark for me because I've been back and forth on this game so much throughout the week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a team that could put up points in a hurry. Baker Mayfield's been excellent for a majority of the season. They looked less than stellar against Dallas. They looked less than stellar against New Orleans for the first half, but they also put up 40 on the Chargers a couple of weeks ago and have the ability to do that. I think their roster is better than Washington's roster, the ultimate differentiator. How does Jaden Daniels play in his first start? And with the injuries that have piled up for Tampa Bay, I know it's a road game. I know it's a rookie on his first start, and I know they're the dogs. I think Washington's going to win this game. I'm going to take the Commanders in this one. I've been riding high on the Commanders all year long. Yeah. I'm going to continue to do it. I'll take the points because I think they're going to win the game, so I'll take Washington plus 3. And then this one, the Rams and the Vikings, 2.5-point favorite. Obviously, the game gets moved. There really may not have been much of the LA fans, the same thing with the Chargers. They don't really show out the way that certain fans do. But this game obviously gets moved to Arizona. It throws a little bit of a wrinkle into things. Why is this line only 2.5? Why is this line as short as it is for a team that's coming off a 14-win season? Is it because they have to go on the road? Is it because, as Glenn brought up, Sam Darnold? Is it because of the fact that the Rams are playing some of their better football of the season? I don't know any of the answer to that question. You're right. The Vikings are the superior team. Why is this only 2.5? And why was it at one point this week 1.5?
It's fishy. I agree with you.
The Vikings are the better team. I'm going to take the Rams to win this game.
Ooh. Yeah, you figure there's going to be at least 1 or 2 surprises. I like the Commanders pick.
The Vikings are the better team in this game. Why is it only 2.5?
I don't know, man. It's a Bills line, it's a Baltimore line, it's a Chargers line. I think it's a Commanders line. We'll see. All right, there are the picks. So let's. Do we have intern Daulton and his stat of the week? This is how we always wrap up the Friday show, as our intern Daulton, who will be busy and feverishly making production and promos and things after we jump off the air. He goes down in the lab and he does some stuff. Intern Daulton, are you there?
Hello, how you doing, John?
What's up, dude?
Nothing. Getting ready for some postseason playoff football.
All right, so what do you got? What did you cook up for your stat of the week?
So for this week, I'll be comparing the 2022 Eagles defense going into the postseason, comparing that to this year's Eagles defense. So in 2022, the Eagles allowed 18.9 points per game. They allowed 391.5 yards per game, 179.8 passing yards per game, 121.6 rushing yards per game, 70 sacks, 17 interceptions, and 15 forced fumbles. And then you compare that to this Eagles defense, which was probably way better. It's 17.8 points allowed per game, 278.4 yards per game allowed, 174.2 passing yards per game, 104.2 rushing yards per game, 41 sacks, 13 interceptions, and 22 forced fumbles.
By the way, shout out to everybody watching on TV. Go to allphly.com to watch more of the show. So across the board, this Eagles defense is better with the exception of sacks, right? Like that, the 22 team was historical in getting to the quarterback, but once they couldn't get to the quarterback, or as we saw in the Super Bowl, they just kind of fell apart. What do you think about Sunday, Intern Daulton? You keep it real. You're not a fanboy. You don't always pick the Eagles. I'm curious to your prediction of what happens in the game.
I think that if you're the Eagles, I think you have to, if you win that coin toss, you got to put your offense on the field first. You got to get that crowd into it. And I think that the Eagles can do that. And I think they do win this game. I think they win it 30-20.
30-20. Similar scores from the three of us. Intern Daulton, thank you. We'll talk to you again next week, buddy.
See ya.
There he is, Intern Daulton. 30-20. I go 27-17. Tyler, 27-21.
Correct. Yep.
All right, I'll take it. Everybody, click over to Ant. He's got you on a Football Friday. Shout out to everybody watching live on YouTube. The chat was vibrant today, so we appreciate you watching live every morning at 8 o'clock. If you're watching later, that's perfectly fine. Watch whenever you want to on YouTube, but if you're able to watch live and get involved in the community we're building here in Philly with John Marks, that's awesome as well. All of our podcast audio listeners out there, shout out to you. Leave 5-star reviews wherever you get your podcasts. It's available every day. About 9:15 or so, Tyler gets it up there. So shout out to everybody. Have a great, safe weekend. Go Birds. We'll be back on Monday at 8 a.m. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.